They all say that the key to your success is your mind. But do you really hold the key to your mind? Welcome to the Key to Your Mind show. Imagine for a second how it would feel to be in complete control of your finances, health, and relationships, and help individuals, teams, and organizations achieve that level of success easier and faster. Every week you'll gain access to magic keys to your mind, making all the difference in your personal and professional life. Now here are your hosts, top international NLP master trainers, Naomi and Rami Berkut.
You know how often you want to solve our clients' problem faster, right? And so you end up giving them these advices, but not really listening to their needs.
Or, after having a sales conversation, you are sorry that you started pitching instead of listening carefully to what your prospect really needs or want. What is important for him and the words he or she used.
Right? So think about the conversation that you had today. Think about it. Were you really listening to the other person? Were you fully engaged in the conversation, or was your mind wandering on other things at the same time?
Or perhaps you were focusing on what you want to say next.
Oh gosh. So how often do you pay attention to how deeply you are listening to someone?
If you want to build, better relationship, if you want to improve your communication skills, if you want to make more sales,
and definitely if you want to be a better coach,
yeah, definitely,
then you must pay attention to and develop your listening skills.
You see, listening to someone is a gift from you to them.
Absolutely.
But only if you're really listening.
So, welcome to the Key to Your Mind show.
The Key to Your Mind show.
And I'm Naomi Berkut.
And I'm Rami Berkut. And today you will discover our NLP keys to becoming a master listener, therefore a better coach.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's dive in now into our pre-recorded four level of listening class, and we'll meet you right here after this short class, after this short pre-recording. Enjoy, and we'll see you really soon. Stay here.
Have you ever been in conversation with somebody where you felt really listening to? Now, how often that happens, right? And if I had to guess, that doesn't happen so often. Now, how would you feel when someone is really listening to you? Because for me, when that happens, I feel valued. It feels really great. And that's the sort of impact that you can have on people by really listening to them.
Right? And listening, it's a gift. It's like a real gift that you can give people. And I know it is challenging gift, but it is possible with the right awareness, right? So if we want, and we do, right, want to be an excellent coach, communicator, top salesperson, then we've got to develop great listening skills.
And of course, everything begins with awareness. Everything begins with awareness, which then gives you choices so that you can make a change. And the awareness we want to share with you today is about the different levels of listening.
Right. So this way you'd be able to catch yourself during conversation to know how are you doing as a listener, right? And when you catch yourself and you catch yourself that you're not fully there, then you can identify what you want to improve in your listening skills.
I mean, it's about fully considering the client or the other person, and in my opinion, it's about respecting them.
For sure.
So the first level of listening, it's called cosmetic listening. You aren't really interested in the conversation, and you almost pretend that you are listening.
And let's face it, right? We are all probably doing it sometimes, right? Like even a parent who is busy doing something else and not really listen to his kid's story.
Yeah, in fact, Naomi, in fact, I think you wrote the book. My mom told me to be quiet, right?
That's right. So if you think about it, in cosmetic listening, they are talking to you and you kind of thinking they're just talking at me, right? Like that's the feeling. They're just talking at me.
And kind of, I'm not interested in this conversation so much. And perhaps because they don't need me to be interested, because they're just talking at me.
That's the feeling. They're just talking to me, right? Yeah. It reminds me the funny story my mom shared with me, that her friend went to the psychology and her friend was, excuse me, her friend was talking and talking and the psychology fell asleep, okay? So the friend said that she just continued talking and talking, right? So it's like, it's funny because it's like, that's what you kind of expect, you know?
So if you're listening or half listening, you might be listening to the story and going, yeah, all right. Yeah, okay, right. Yeah, just listening.
Just let them kind of like
let them talk, and that kind of listening is okay. But it's very cosmetic. It's on the surface. You're not really listening, right?
Right. So, and it can be really embarrassing too, because if somebody said, what did I just say? Right. Like some people will catch you like, and they'll go, what did I just say? Or whatever I just said. And sometimes if someone insists is listening to us and we ask them really, like, then what have I just said? Right. And they have no clue. Right. So not the nicest thing to do. Huh?
No. And some people have said that to me in the past and called me out. But if they said, what did I just say? Then you won't have much of a clue and you might be able to come out with some kind of an answer, right?
You make up this answer, right? And if you're a coach, right, or in sales, then that type of listening is not good at all, right?
Absolutely. So the second type of listening is called conversational listening. And conversational listening is something very common, and it might be your deepest level of listening. It might be a habit that you've got into or allowing it to be your deepest level of listening. Because conversational listening is kind of you tell me and I tell you. It's let me tell you a little bit about what is going in my life and then allow you to tell a little bit about what's going on in your life.
So, right. So it's almost like simultaneously sometimes, right? So it's me talking and it's you talking. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm probably also thinking about what I'm going to be saying next, right?
Yeah,
so
that's fine, and it can be really fun. But if you are a coach, a relationship coach, if you are managing people, and you are using that kind of listening skills in a meeting or in one-on-one, or in a performance view meeting.
Like they review it, yeah, for the performance, yeah.
Then that's just not going to be efficient enough. You need to be getting deeper.
Right. In cases like that, they need to get deeper, right? So like that brings us to the third level of listening is called active listening. I'm sure you heard it before. Active listening is when you really listening to somebody, you're really concentrating on what that other person is saying.
Yeah, you're really concentrating on discovering more about the person, more about the thoughts behind what they're actually saying.
And unlike conversational one that you talk simultaneously, you are here, you're not concerned with listening and at the same time with formulating your own answer. You're not like, okay, what would they say next? What would they say?
Right. You're listening attentively to what they're actually saying. how it makes them feel, how they're feeling inside, and the implication for them, and discovering more about them.
Kind of curiosity, right? So like, because when you're talking to people give you most of the people, right, they would give you only the surface level, right? The answer, like the surface problem or the answer. And if you keep it at the surface level, then they won't necessarily tell you exactly what you are thinking, what they are thinking, right? They're not going to necessarily tell you, and you're like trying to help them solve a surface problem, not like what's really underneath
that's
it, not the root thing.
True. So here, by listening, you're able to formulate questions that discover the deeper aspects of their thoughts. And that's what active listening can do for you.
Yeah, and remember, we will learn, like you would see, like as we go along with the NLP practitioner, you would see that we learn more and more of those skills of what to pay attention to and things like that. And we already learned a lot, okay? So this is a great for working in sales, and in sales, you really want to understand, right, what people really want, what is important to the people about the problem that you are talking about, right? It's about them, right? Make it about them, as Rami always says.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you're going to need to know what their deep down thoughts are, not just what their surface thoughts are. So really listen to them, ask them questions, and think more about what's going on inside of them than what's going on inside of you.
That's right. And we have this tendency, when you think about it, we have the tendency to reflect on everything, right? So like, hey, focus on them, right? So that brings us to the fourth level of listening, which is called deep listening, right? And deep listening is building on the active listening too, right? So
the deep listening is saying, okay, I'm listening attentively to what you're saying. I'm also watching what's going on inside you. I'm watching what's going on with your facial expressions. I'm watching what's going on with your breathing, your body language.
It's like we touched some sensory acuity and things like that. And it's like, I'm really trying kind of to be you, like the person that in front of you in the conversation.
Yes.
And this type of skill, that's the skill that excellent coaches have, right? So this is type of skill that every coach can get with practice, of course. Practice. And this is the type of skill that if you can really try and get inside the other person's mind, or like the other person model of the world, ask question in order to get inside their model of the world, like be curious, like ask those questions and like be really curious, like so you get like really, really deep.
Yeah, so you just make sure that they're doing 90% of the talking.
I know it sounds hard, right? Like 90% of the talking they should do, right?
Not with me. I always listen everywhere. I hardly talk. People say, you hardly talk. Yeah, I'm listening.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just doing the listening, and you're watching the body movements. You're listening to what they are saying, and you're really trying to discover more, not just listening to words that are coming out, but what does that actually mean for that person? That's this deep listening.
And before you continue, it's like when you think about it, it's like we don't talk about mind read. That's why you ask the question to make sure that's what they mean by the labeling, by the words they say.
Yeah. And as you said, Naomi, that's a skill that you can build. And a way to build these skills is to practice.
Practice. And I know you do because I see it in the group. Yeah, very good. So when you're in conversation with somebody, just notice how you are listening, right? Like maybe after the conversation, kind of like check yourself, just review how you listen, how much of your listening was enabling you to develop your own thought, and how much of your conversation were you giving your opinion to the other person, right? Like how much were you really listening and trying to discover about them rather than just like try to tell them what you think is right and things like that.
Yeah.
And to sum it up, what we said is like, so the lower level of listening is like the cosmetic listening. It's like surface. It's like, you are not really listening. Your mind is somewhere else, and you're kind of pretending to be interested, like in the class, like when the teacher catch you, like you're like dreaming or something.
True. And we said that conversational listening.
That's the second one.
Second, you are engaged in the conversation, listening, talking, thinking, thinking, and so on. And then we have the active listening, and you are very focused on what the other person is saying without focusing on what you said. You are recording facts, and you're really attuned.
Yeah, so like, right, so like you're focusing on the other person without like, what would I say? What would they say, right?
Right.
So, and then like that was the active. Like the deep listening is you're totally focused on the other. You're aware not just of the other person's words, but also their physiology, the breathing, and everything, like the sensory acuity we talked about, like you notice everything and on a deeper level.
So how can we become a better listener? Right. So focus on listening and processing information rather than speaking. Your goal is to fully understand the other.
That's right. So mentally, kind of like record and register kind of facts and observation for later use. So like, that's why I like when you write everything that the other person say, and confirm listening by the sound, the gesture, the expression, right? Like pay attention to all those things. Yeah.
Yeah. And actively seek to understand, ask clarifying questions, offer observations or conclusions, deepen the conversation.
Right. So like, let's say if you think about it, right, like all of a sudden you hear in the word in internal conflict or limiting beliefs, right? You like looking like deep. Okay. So check assumption and interpretation by their paraphrasing. Like if they say, oh, this caused that, or that means that, like pay attention to those links that they have in their head.
And you do that, you listen for content, not just for the surface one. The underneath needs, concern, experiences, priorities, and so forth.
Right, like they have differently. You notice this is more important for them than this one, right? Like by the way they talk. So pay attention also to the non-verbal communication, right? The body language, the facial expression, like their eyes, right? Like is their facial expression in sync with what they've been said, their eyes, right? Like the strategy and things like that. So also notice what is not being said, right? Like, are there any gaps, right? Like, so you can ask the question, because you cannot help someone to solve a problem, a presented problem, if you are not sure what is the problem.
Right. And you get information back by reaction. So notice the reaction, triggers and emotions. Think about responses to bring in and also when to bring them in.
Yeah, it's like to know, like it's like have this
emotional intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. So what is the pace, right? Like what is the tonality? What are you experiencing, right? Get into like really the model of the world. What are the thoughts, right? So like you kind of jump into their model of the world, like use yourself as an instrument. You're like almost like an instrument, like you're a tool. You're getting deeper understanding, right? Like, and we talked a little bit about it in perception positioning, where you like jump into their position and kind of like try to get into their model of the world.
I love you. I love what you said. Use yourself as an instrument.
Yeah,
as a tool for gaining deeper understanding.
And we always use like the word conduit. We are the conduit to, but we talk it like more in the context of God, like we are the conduit of the light, right? Things like that.
Yeah. So that's what listening is all about.
Yes. So hopefully you're gonna improve your listening skill, like all of us, that we constantly have to work on it, right? So we become the top salesperson, the top coach, the top NLP practitioner, coach, and
more than that, for me, it's really becoming more, showing more kindness, respect for the other person.
I love it, definitely. Talk to you soon.
So welcome back. You saw the pre-recorded, right? Like we put it all together. So fascinating, isn't it? Right?
Absolutely.
If you carefully listened. Okay. So what we want to suggest that you would practice listening in your next sales call and meeting, so you see like the difference that makes the difference. And we would love to hear and read your comments. What listening practice you would love to do more of. And think in your heart, who would you like that, who in your life you would prefer that you would learn to listen better to what, right? Like what style you would wish him to listen to you. And you can share this even show with them, right? The video and the show, and then they can share with you also their favorite style, right? And you know, when you tell them in advance what style you like or something after they watch it, I think you will get better results in your conversation with them.
Absolutely. And there is something that I would like you to, to live with, okay? How can you help someone if you're not really listening to them? After all, becoming an agent of change, or as we like to say, angel of change, starts with listening. I mean, real listening. Listening is a crucial part of how we communicate. More importantly, higher levels of listening help form better relationship and better trust.
Definitely listening help you form better relationship and build better trust. Okay?
The world will be a better place if all of us learn how to pay attention to others and listen at a deeper level. Don't you think that?
I absolutely think so. So we are happy to see you here. Gonna read your comments and
We'll see you next time.
yes.